I have to admit, I am not the best at visualizing when it comes to images. I used to be, but somehow it just got less and less and less and less. But then you often hear you have to visualize in order to manifest it. And then there's people who have problems and they're like, oh my God, I cannot do it. Don't stress, because there is actually something that is more powerful than visualizing. And I'm going to tell you what it is in this video. Spoiler alert, it's sound. So if you imagine something, and I say imagine, not visualizing, like a scene, then it may be more powerful if you have an inner conversation. And there is techniques. I have a complete playlist with different kind of techniques, and I do have several videos on techniques that are more based on imagining sounds, like the congratulation technique, the telephone technique. Of course, also spoken affirmations, because when you speak them, you hear them. Or incantations, like affirmations, you speak with more power, or you listen to affirmations. We have ranting, where you actually also say things that you then hear. But also when you're more in the state of the kinesleep, you can use the lullaby method, where you repeat affirmations in your head while being in the state akin to sleep. We have the eavesdropping technique. So there is a long list of techniques you can use by just either saying words, listening to words, or imagining words instead of visualizing scenes. But why is that? And I have to admit, I do have some notes. Well, it's connected to our limbic system. And our limbic system is the part of our brains that deals with our emotions, motivation, and also memory. And it plays an important and significant role in how we experience and store emotional memories. I would like to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Janine Nicole, and I have been working as a spiritual coach for over 20 years. For more information, you can check out the introduction video on my page. And of course, you can check out my social media. You will find contact information below, and I am available for coaching. The emotional power of sounds, like voices, music, or certain tones, tends to be processed very deeply in the brain and often triggers stronger emotional responses than visualized stimuli. For example, a voice you recognize, whether it's someone you love or an authoritative figure, can trigger a very immediate emotional response because the brain associates it with certain memories or emotional states. This emotional tie to auditory information can create stronger neuroplasticity than visual inputs, which may not always trigger an intense emotional reaction. So what is neuroplasticity? It is your brain forming new connections, new synapses that are getting connected. And we want to do that by manifesting, because we want to repeat something in order to form these connections so that it becomes more normal. The feeling of already having it. That is why the methods are good. We just train to step into normalcy. It's normal for me to have it because I have imagined it so many times that I have been in the state, I've been the person who already has it that many times, that now it feels like I have it. It's like natural. But let's talk about auditory versus visual imagination. So when it comes to imagination, auditory stimuli can engage areas in the brain associated with emotion and memory in many ways visuals may not always do, and here's why. Emotional connection, as mentioned, auditory experiences like hearing someone say a certain phrase, music, or even a sound you associate with a past emotional event are processed through the limbic system and can create a deep emotional resonance. This emotional engagement can make the experience feel more real, which is a key principle in the law of assumption. The more real and emotionally charged the imagination, the stronger the neural pathway gets created. And I actually learned that when I learned hypnosis. One of the examples I was taught is that our teacher was talking about a client he had that all of a sudden had panic attacks and they didn't know where they came from. So in trance, in the hypnosis, it showed that it was just triggered by a sound. The person heard like a car honk and tires squeaking. And even though that person did not consciously remember, oh, I used to be in a car accident, and he did, and he actually he didn't almost die, but he was injured, and he heard the paramedics say, oh, this may not make it, but it turned out he wasn't that badly injured after all. But he was unconscious, and his unconscious mind heard the paramedics say, yeah, this one may not make it. And he didn't know that consciously because he was unconscious in that moment. But the moment, years later, when he heard the car honk and the tires squeak, that just came up, not into his conscious mind, because his conscious mind didn't remember what was said, but his subconscious did, and then the panic attacks came. That means the sound of the car honk and the tire squeaking immediately brought back the emotions he had when he had the accident and the incident and the fears. So there is definitely a connection between, the auditory memories and our emotions. It is called memory recall. Sounds are tied to our memories in a very vivid way. Think about how a song can immediately transport you to a specific time in your life. Auditory imagination therefore might trigger deeper, more emotional and more vivid memories than visual imagination. And I also learned this in hypnosis about when you, for example, were dancing to a song with your first crush and it felt so good, and then 50 years later you may hear that sound and maybe not the memory of dancing may come up, but the feeling you connected, the feeling of maybe butterflies in your belly and the excitement maybe in the most positive way, the happiness back then. So sometimes a memory actually comes up that you remember, oh wow, that song reminds me of that. But sometimes it is just the feeling that comes up. So let's talk more about neuroplasticity. And studies show that auditory stimuli can lead to stronger neural pathways as the brain tends to respond more readily to emotional inputs. If you're imagining conversations, sounds, or voices, it can stimulate areas in your brain associated with deeper emotional learning and processing, reinforcing stronger neuroplastic changes. So this is perfect news for everybody who cannot visualize that well. If you are good at visualization, great. You can, of course, connect it to sound. And if you say, oh, you have problems like imagining conversations, you can still use sounds, because as we just said, music can be tied to that, and you can go to my channel, Janine Nicole Manifest with Music, because music can help you to get into this feeling. So you can have your visual scene and imagine something and then connect it to one of my songs that is actually created to put you into the state of the wish fulfilled. I actually already have some songs that are like scripted scenes that are a very detailed scenes, for example, like getting a hug from your specific person. And of course, make sure to subscribe to that channel, because there's more songs like this coming up. It's constantly growing and expanding, and you can create your own playlist. Songs are meant to get you into the state of the wish fulfilled, so when you listen to them on a regular basis, you will create those pathways. Songs and music is so extremely powerful. If you don't like my songs, even though what's not to like about my songs, I have so many different genres, so you will find something, I'm certain of it. But in case you don't, maybe pick other music that gets you into this happy state, and maybe you already have a song connected to that person, but a good song. By good, I don't mean, it can be a bad song, like, I don't want to thrash music genres I don't like. Well, it can be something that is not rock, let's say, so not good. No, not just joking. But by bad, I mean if you connect a sad memory to that. Please don't listen. Oh God, sometimes you do that. Okay, sometimes it's good. Sometimes you want to cry, and crying can be purging, because I'm not someone who says spiritual bypassing. Sometimes it is good if you feel something within you, you want to let it out, and crying can be very useful. And what I have done myself in the past is listen to a song, like a heartbreak song, for example, and that made me cry. So that can help with purging. It's like Aristotle already said, art can be like a catharsis. It can be used to purge or to experience something. But typically, if you're already sad and you are already crying, we don't want to linger in that for too long and listen to more heartbreak songs. So by good song, I mean a song that always makes you happy and gives you a good feeling. So you can play that song on loop while you do your visualization if you cannot imagine like conversations, and it still will have a very similar effect, or pretty much the same, because it's the feeling you get that manifests. But again, the feeling is not always necessary. Some people manifest with robotic affirmations, so it's a law of assumption. Whatever your assumption is will work for you. If you have the assumption I just can robotically affirm, and that's perfect method for me, it will be the perfect method for you. But this video is about sound, it's about how to use sound in order to manifest. So let's talk about some scientific studies. Some studies have shown that people who rely heavily on auditory imagery, like musicians for example, tend to have more efficient neural pathways in areas of the brain related to auditory processing and memory. There's also a phenomenon called auditory imagery superiority in some cognitive psychology research, where people who use auditory imagination are often better at remembering things or even problem solving because it taps into emotional and memory-based processing. Visual imagination is still very powerful for many people, especially when combined with emotion. For some, visualizing success, experiences, or goals vividly can engage the brain in a way that makes them feel as though they're actually living those experiences. So again, if you're good at visualization, I'm not telling you to stop it, you can combine it. So let's talk about combining auditory and visual stimulation or imagination. Some people naturally lean more towards auditory imagery, while others are more visual thinkers. So for law of assumption practices combining both auditory, that would be like hearing affirmations on my songs, conversations, again like the congratulation method or the other ones I already told you, you can find those in my playlist. You can, combine that with visual. And visual would be like having images of your life unfold, or basically like a scene that implies you already have it. Or if you use the congratulations technique, you would see your person, like your best friend, in front of you congratulating you, as opposed to just hearing it. Just hearing it is absolutely enough, because sometimes you don't see a person talking to you because you could be talking to your phone, right? So visualization is not that important. But if you do both, then it can actually even strengthen more, it can make those connections go even faster. So auditory is faster than just visual, but combining both is even faster, because the more senses you engage, the more real it will feel to you. So anyway, I hope this helped, and especially if you have problems with visualization, don't worry about it anymore, because there is a stronger tool. If you need help, of course, you can reach out for personal coaching. Please leave your comments. What have you learned? And please also tell me, have you manifested something with hearing, and are you more visual or are you more auditory like me? What is your tool, and have you tried combining them? Please post your results. I'm looking forward to reading them. And I do see you in my comments. I do see you in my other channel, Janine Nicole Manifest with Music. I do see you in my next video. Until then, I wish you all the best now. Bye bye.